Hello, this is Wes Bridle, and this is another Kingdom Calling Economic Update video. This is part 2 in what I think is going to be a 6-part series of Economic Update videos. All of these videos are follow-ons to The Coming Storm, which is a free hour-and-a-half video that there is a link to on this site, which gives you a big picture of what we're about to be going through in our economy. We made that video in November, and many of the things that we said back then have already come true. If you watch that video today, it gives you incredible perspective because you'll see, wow, a lot of what he said in November has already happened, and yet many of the big scary things that he's talking about haven't yet happened. There is still time to prepare, and so we want to warn you about that. We saw the, sorry, I don't know what's going on with the light, but we already put together part 1 of hyperinflation and gold news, and now I'm going to jump into part 2 here. If you've noticed, a lot of the crazy things that have been going on in Europe started with Greece, and that has had tremendous tremors on our economy. Those problems are going to come home here at some point. And yet, supposedly, we bailed out Europe and us, and the IMF, which is us, bailed out Greece and fixed the problems. But if you look at the credit default swap prices, those haven't come, they went down a little bit, but now they're right up to crisis levels again. So there's still, that crisis is nowhere near gone. It's just kind of simmering at the moment. China is now buying foreign gold streams. So it's theorized that China is, because they have trouble buying gold on the world market, because they have so much money and gold market is so small, whenever they buy what to them is a little bit, it moves the gold price up. So the theory is China is just buying all the gold produced in China, and they're now the #1 gold producer in the world. But what's interesting is they've now made what's probably the first of several moves outside of the country to buy the production of foreign mines. So they're able to increase their gold supply without really going on the open market and spiking the price to $10,000. Because they own, it's less than 2% of their holdings, what they admit to owning today. And yet, even when we're just getting up to 2%, it spikes the price when they buy it on the market. So they're going around in different ways. So that's interesting to watch for, and it's very bullish for the price of gold. The GLD, which is the biggest gold ETF, has passed the $50 billion milestone. I personally wouldn't buy this ETF, but it's pretty amazing to see that they're that big. There's $50 billion invested there. If GLD was a central bank, they'd be the 5th biggest in the world, just behind France and ahead of China. Rick Rule, who's an incredible mineral and natural resource investor, says gold stocks are going to be incredibly volatile in the time ahead, that there's going to be amazing opportunities, but also huge crashes because of liquidity problems. And he says it's just going to be an amazing time for a trader, but somewhat of a scary time if you're just a buy and hold investor. Holbert's gold newsletter Sentiment. Holbert looks at all the financial newsletters out there and provides some valuable information about what everybody's saying. Gold sentiment is only 23.5% bullish. This information is about a week ago, but that's pretty amazing because gold is kind of near a high price. So you see a lot of people say gold's historically high, so I wouldn't buy it. And yet, there's only, of the people writing gold newsletters, only 23% of them are bullish. That's a bullish sign. You want to be a contrarian in these things. If everybody's bullish, that's a good sign that things are going to take a step back. The fact that only 23% are bullish is a pretty bullish sign. There's a big kind of scandal in Europe recently. The Bank of International Settlements, in their, I don't know if it was annual or quarterly report, showed that banks were giving them, or kind of being used as a pawn shop, they were giving a ton of gold. See if I've got the number. I forget, it was like 400 million, I don't remember. It was a lot of gold that they were putting there in exchange for money. And the Bank of International Settlements has admitted in the past that they've manipulated the price of gold. They don't look at it as a negative thing because in their mind, price stability of world currencies and economies is the #1 goal. But it is an illegal thing here in America to manipulate the price of gold, and they've admitted doing that. So it's interesting that all this gold was put into their hands. And the China using China demand in gold was 14 billion last year. It was 11% of global demand. They are encouraging all of their people to buy more, and so it's, again, a hugely bullish world demand point. And meanwhile, around the world, in the last decade, David Rosenberg recently pointed out that 12% drop in mining output across the world over the last decade. And so and he also pointed out that the gold is near its 50-day moving averages. If you haven't been paying attention the last couple of weeks, gold has dropped down to 1,200, just under an ounce. And so he says historically that's a really good place to buy right now. Saudi Arabia announced gold reserves were double previously reported. They didn't admit, it was kind of a weird report, they didn't admit to buying anymore. They said there had been past errors by accountants, but whoops, they had double what they said that they had before. So Saudi Arabia is stocking up. Central banks in Russia, Philippines, Venezuela, and Kazakhstan are all buying gold recently. Again, we think China's probably buying a lot, but they don't report what they buy. And then lastly, a UBS poll found that almost 1/4 of central bankers believe gold will be the most important financial reserve asset in 25 years. This is a huge development. The dollar came in number one, but gold came in above euro. It came in above any other currency. And 25% of them believe it's going to be the number one asset in 25 years. That's a pretty amazing thing for central bankers, which generally love currencies that they can manipulate. So again, we've been talking about these issues for a long time, but this is just the stuff that's come out in the last couple of weeks. I'm going to move on to other videos about financial reform bill, the economy, stock market, things like that. But again, if you haven't seen the Coming Storm video, I highly recommend that you watch that right away. There's a link to watch it for free. And thank you. God bless you. Thanks for watching.